Hello and welcome to another episode of the private podcast inside the Soul Line Network. I'm your host, Criss Madrigal, founder of the Soul Line Network. And today I am thrilled to bring to you one of our guest experts in the area of finance and abundance and money. And she is someone who truly embodies what it means to live in alignment and abundance. And I love this so much because it's an area that I struggled with for a long time. So, Maggie Emerson is a money coach and mentor, and she helps women turn scarcity into sovereignty by blending the practical with the magical. And I just already love the sound of that because things become more magical as we lean into just the idea of abundance. So, before I even go any further, I want to welcome you, Maggie. I'm so happy to have you here and excited for all the wisdom that you've already been sharing, but what's to come in this conversation and beyond.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Criss.
Yeah. So I just want to remind people that behind every incredible woman is a story, right? And a story that shapes who you are, who I am, who everybody is. And so I am just ready to hear your story, Maggie. And I'd love for you to share with us a little bit of what led you to the work that you do today, because I find that every person in whatever journey they are, it's their life path and their experiences that led them to where they're at today. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I feel like where do I even begin? It's a big story, so I'll do my best to share it efficiently. But I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home. I'm starting with kiddo. So I got to have my kiddo. He's now 14 years old, and I got to stay home with him until he was about 2.5 years old. And then I had to go back to work full time. And so I went to work at this place where I wasn't well received as the creative, joyful human that I was. And I remember getting like scolded for doing something a certain way and told that they're questioning my ability to work. They're questioning my ability to do this stuff, like to be efficient and blah, 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 blah. So I went home that day, like feeling very like depleted and like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with this? And like just churning in my mind, what else have I done wrong? Because they made it seem like nearly they're going to fire me the next day. Right. And so then I came in the next day to work and I went into my boss's office and I was like, can you please tell me where else I'm not doing well? And they just flipped a switch and they're like, no, you're AAA plus. You're like our best employee, blah, 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 blah. And it was just this like slap whip like thing. And I remember thinking, I don't ever want to have to work with someone like this again. Like I don't want a boss like that. So long story short, we left, we went traveling, but when we got back and landed where I live now in Durango, I started a business and I've been a serial entrepreneur. So I started a business working for other people online and that sort of thing. And I made good money, but I could never keep it.
Mm.
Right. It was always like out already spent before it came in. Right. You're like, oh, I know this much is coming out. This is all the places it's going. So it's like, right. And then when I got divorced, it took me a lot of courage to step out of a really unhealthy marriage.
Mhm.
But once I did, I was like, I don't care how this looks. I left with 2 bags and nothing else. Right. So I left feeling like one, I needed to get out of there and just be done. And two, what was coming at me, I was like, I don't care if I have nothing. This is better than that. And so that was kind of like, those seeds were planted years and years, but I kind of like took this, like, I'd rather have nothing than have that. And kind of it set the tone for me just getting by. Right. So as a single mom, I struggled. I was doing awesome, but again, money in, money out, money in, money out. Right. And then I'd be like, I want to take this as my next course. So I'd spend thousands on different courses and getting to these places, but I had nothing available to me. So
Yeah.
that was part of my journey. And then as COVID, the lovely COVID that always has like a mile marker in our lives, my mom died April 8th.
Mm.
in that time period. And I remember I was literally laying on my bed with a stemless wine glass and a pink straw, drinking wine because I was so sad. And I could hear my kid playing in the background. Next night, same thing, green straw. I was like, this is not how this goes. Like, this is not like my kid needs me. I don't have the bandwidth to coach. I was coaching as well at the time. I don't have the ability to do this. So I asked myself the question, what did I do as a kid that brought me joy? And at that point, I was like, oh, I used to bead. And I would make even in my mom's jewelry, there's this beautiful daisy ring that I had beaded for her that she still had. And so that very next day, and this was 8 days after her passing, I, or maybe it was, or sooner than that, because it was 8 days after her passing. I'll tell you the rest of the story in just a sec. I learned how to make the like woven, like so similar to this, but like the fully woven earrings, seed bead earrings, woven and dangly. I made a pair. I called them Ride the Waves. They were blue ombre, and I posted them on Facebook, and they sold in 2 minutes. So I went, thanks, Mom.
Mm.
And I was off
I
to
just
the
got the chills.
yeah, right. And I was off to the races and creating, I had found a new revenue stream to get through homeschooling in that time, to get through it was very healing grief in that time. And in that process, both that business helped me see how to own my value when it wasn't coaching services. Cause in not understanding my value and not feeling worthy, it was really hard. Bringing in coaching clients before was really, really hard because I didn't see the value, but the earrings gave me multitude of things to bring my magic to them. Like each pair has a message that whispers sweet nothings. And this is like moon magic that I'm wearing right now, and very intentionally because it's the new moon today as we're recording, right? And so they put them on and they're like, I'm here. This is my intention. Right. And so through this business, one, I learned the hard way how to not price, right? Because I priced it, I didn't take into consideration in the beginning my time, the amount of time it took, and the supplies. Supplies weren't that expensive, but I didn't factor anything in. I was like, this feels good. And I ended up making earrings morning, noon, and night. Right? Never met a pair of earrings that didn't sell. Still have people reaching out, and I make them for them as I have space, because I'm not doing that full time anymore. But this particular business helped me get into the numbers and the nitty gritty of what creatives and non-linear thinkers struggle with. And I found my pathway of really understanding how business and numbers work on a practical level. The magic was all in the earrings and the messages, right?
Yeah.
And so I hit a point about 4 years into that where I was burnt out. I was like, I had the pricing right. I knew how to pre-sell earrings so I could get, a bunch of money in so I could just sit down and relax and, create, pre-sell, create, go. But I was like, I need something different. So in that, I was like, I know I still want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to work with people. Like I've, made earrings morning, noon, and night on my beautiful creative table, but by myself. So then I was like, I want to be around people. I got myself a job inside a marketing agency. And in that time frame of being hired for that, the ideas, like I was like, just churning of what's next. How do I apply everything that I've done? I've done business coaching, I've done body coaching, got this earring thing, I've done social, like all the components. It was like, what can I do that I love that brings all of what I've done together? Right. And in this time frame too of the ending the earrings, like through that, I had been paying off my debt and getting clear with my finances, and like things were looking on the upside throughout my earring business. Right. And so then as I was stepping into creating even more income, I was like, this is what I want to show people. I don't want other women and non-creatives, people who, haven't been taught about money, to feel like they're wrong. And so it's like, how can I bring this forward? So the same time I was hired for this marketing job was the same time I'm like, okay, I'm launching. Right. So I got to do like almost two years with the marketing agency while I built Boku, babe. And that's how it came about, was this evolution of me and bringing all of my learnings from business coaching, body, like helping people heal their relationships with their body, which isn't that different from healing your relationship with money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this creative artist part of me, and I was like, I want to help other creatives be successful, and then also like really support others, whether they're entrepreneurs or not, see that money is, the way we've been taught to look at money versus the way we can interact with money is very different. So that's the longer version of like, that's how Boku Babe was born. And I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to watch people have ahas around earning more, and they can actually like put money aside for retirement, or put money aside for the things they love, and not just be stressed all the time.
But isn't it beautiful how, in order for you to get to that point, you had to go and experience all these other areas and places?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was what gave you that foundation. That's like, this is what I want to teach others, because you had already gone through it.
Yeah,
And
very
to
much.
me, that's where everything stems from all the time. You've gone through an experience, you've come out on the other side successfully, and now you want to share that, because why wouldn't you? Right? You want other people to feel that level of success.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful story, and I'm so curious to see your earrings, because now you've got me intrigued. And I was looking at yours since the moment you popped on, so I don't know. We'll just have to take a little look at that later and see what you got, if you still have them. But
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit more. I know this is like one piece of your story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us or share with us a little bit more of like that turning point where you went from being a broke single mom to becoming someone who now teaches it? I know you've mentioned, kind of in a nutshell, that moment. Was there a specific turning point throughout that journey that you said, I'm gonna just do things different? Because you mentioned like
Yeah.
several points there.
There's several turning points, but the biggest turning point was like deciding like this has to be different. And I would say there were multiple moments of like, this has to be different, and it got a little bit different and a little bit different. But the thing that really opened my eyes is like, I had no clue what it cost to run my life. None. It
Mm.
just was like, this is like, this is coming in, this has to go here. This is coming in, this goes here, right? There was no big picture awareness of what, my day-to-day life financially looked like. So once I like sat down and looked at, I mean, I knew what my rent was paid, like I knew those things, but I didn't know the on a monthly scale what that was. So there was two aspects to this. One, it was getting clear on like, oh, it costs this much. This is where it's leaking because I'm not using this subscription, or, the classic, I'm subscribed to 3 or 4 movie things that I don't want or need, and it's taking away from, whatnot.
Yeah.
But understanding, oh, this is how much it costs in my life, and this is how much I'm at a deficit at each month. So no wonder it feels stressful. And then how can I create the difference? And I also had to look at this energetically, because I was so used to just that being on that edge, right?
Mm.
And then the other thing, which was super helpful, same thing, it's all about the clarity. Because once you have clarity, you can like start taking the actions to shift it. But if you have no
Mhm.
clue what's really going on, it's really, really hard to be like, now we're going to move to this, because there's no moving. It's just hopeful, right? And so the other piece was, for a month, I had a tiny little notebook, and I wrote down every single penny I spent. So the parking meter, the coffees, right? every single little thing. So I had, again, that awareness of not only what I was spending on, but got to notice the emotion that came with certain expenditures.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing some things down because I want to go back to the things that you're
Yeah.
saying. The first question I have from listening to this is, from the people that you work with, how many would you say really don't know how much it takes to run their life essentially every month?
Yeah. I would say when they first meet me, 80% of them, at maybe even 90.
Yeah. Because that stood out to me as how many people, I'm curious on to know on your end, like how many people truly don't know how much money it takes just in the basics, right? We're not even
Right.
talking like the extras that you give yourself. And maybe you do give yourself extras because, we all deserve them, we all need them.
Yeah.
But how much of that, do you know what it takes? And I've done that for a really long time. So I'm very clear on how things go, but it took me a lot to get there. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sit there. I don't want to figure this out. I don't want to do this. But once you do it and you do it several times, you see exactly where your money's going and it brings that clarity to you.
Mhm.
So it's something that I think everyone needs to be aware of. And I'm glad that you're bringing that up. And that's why I wanted to ask, because I wanted to see, is it just me that thinks not too many people do it? Or is it just really something that that is very common?
It's just, it's very common. I mean, the head in the sand, like hoping it'll just all work out is such a common thing. And it's not nothing to be ashamed about. Like I literally was sent off to school, college, and with no idea how to manage like even the money that I had for student loans and everything. It was just like the amount of like, I remember that was when Lululemon came out and I bought like, I was equipped with Lululemon in college. I should not have been equipped with Lululemon, right? I just had access to money and no clue what it took
Yeah.
to do that. So yeah, it's not uncommon. And it's the other thing I see too, as I work too, and this is like with mostly I work with women, I work with men as well. But mostly women where the husband, the partner does the finances and they don't have an idea of what it costs to run their life. And if that works, it works for you, but there's some comfort and security in knowing like this is what is happening behind the scenes. Right. And so like sometimes people have access to a lot of abundance, but not the nervous system calm around it too, because there isn't that awareness. Yeah.
And that's what I want to go into next. My next question was, you said something, and I don't remember your exact words, but you said you got to look at it from an energetic level or look at it energetically. Tell us what that means.
Yeah. So when we grow up in these, this is one of my favorite topics, when we grow up in our, like these homes, like our homes, right? And our parents, our guardians come in with different energies, different, um, ways of showing up to money energetically that's unspoken, but it's ever so powerful, right? And so the energetics of like an example of me, I grew up as the worker's daughter. Like my sister and I were the worker's daughter. So we had access, like we got to go to, my dad worked at a yacht club for 10 years of my childhood. So we got to do the swimming, the sailing, the tennis lessons, the synchronized swimming, all of these like in a sense like rich people things to do, right? That my family growing up could not have afforded had my dad not worked there, right? We just had access to all of it. Right. But I was always the worker's kid. So the energy of that was I was always less than, even at the parties, at the regattas, at the energetics of that all was I was less than. So I lived a lot of my life of I'm less than,
Mhm.
right? So energetically, I'm less than, and that way I need to make less than. So that's like an example. And also with that energetically came with it's better to have less, right? The energetics of that, and that rich people are not kind, right? Rich people are rude and condescending. So the energetics of that is like, well, I can't possibly have more money because that will make me rude and condescending, right? So those energetics. And then you also, growing up, you may have had like, I remember like there can be like the mom could be, just say, really frugal energetically, while the dad is like just throws money at everything. Right. So it creates this energetic disconnect of like, but wait, if I'm like my mom, I have to be really frugal and not spend money. But if I'm like my dad, I'm throwing money out the window. And so these are those energetics that like, when we like the how to shift that is you start looking for like what else is possible, right? Like looking, I call it energetic shopping, right?
Yeah.
Energetically shopping and looking around and noticing people who have great relationships with money, and you start having, like, I remember for a while I would write like a handwritten note to money every day, because it's like, hey money, I really want to be pals with you, but right now, like at that point I was like, right now I hate you, you don't show up for me, right? And it's that energetics of, it's just like having a relationship with yourself, with someone else. It's having that conversation so that, when you walk in a room where you're having a disagreement with something, there's that tension, there's that energy of like tension and like wanting to potentially run away. But when you come in and face that funky energetics, then it can actually shift.
I want to talk about the letter to money or
Yeah.
the notes
Yeah.
because I've heard it before. I may have done it once only. And I say may because I obviously, if I did it, I didn't put that much focus into it. But tell us about these notes. Tell us, I've really seen it as writing a love letter to money, writing notes as if, almost as if it's another person, somebody you want to date, that type of energy, like, oh my gosh, I love you, type of thing. Tell us how you write these notes to money. You told us a little bit, but what advice do you give somebody who wants to change that relationship? Because we got to see it as a relationship, right?
Right, absolutely. So for me, and it depends on like where someone's at in their money relationship. For me, I had to start off with like the truth of like, I don't feel connected to you, right? And I really want to. And I see you connecting to all these other people, and I don't understand why you're not connecting with me, right? So again, I'm talking as if it's a person so that they could respond. Um, and sometimes it is like that I have written gratitude letters, right? Sometimes it's good to start there to like, have that, remember like this is a practice you could do on the daily as you're looking at it, is like, this is what money provided for me today. Or like, or if it's a letter to money, it's like, dear money, thank you so much for providing all these things. This is what you gave me today. You gave me a roof over my head. You gave me my matcha. You gave me my, like, the clothes that I'm wearing, the internet that I'm using, like all these things that money has given you, right? And continues like on a, day-to-day basis. So it really is looking at all the aspects of relationship and writing for real, not the sugar coated, this is how, like, because I find a lot of the people I get to work with have a lot of people pleasing in them. They've been taught to do for other people so much that that's part of the reason why we undercharge, or we don't ask for more, or we just don't allow more into our worlds. That you have to start to learn how to be really honest and real. And the other thing, I have to throw this in here too, because it's like there's the money letters and then there's going on dates with money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into that because
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So I have like different, like there's the, let's meet, let's go on the initial date. Right. And I always recommend, you book, like I love normally I love 3 beverages at a time: a bubbly something, a hot something, and water. Right. So you set yourself up with your comfort things. Cause the other thing that I don't want to not acknowledge here is like, your body is going to show you a really beautiful pathway to shifting, because your body's going to either go, and like shut down. And then you have to like really connect and let it soften.
Mhm.
Right. Um, and paying attention to body sensation is really going to help you navigate these aspects of money. But like there's the are we compatible date, right? You sit down and have a conversation with money of are we compatible? There's the numbers date, right? That's the clarity one, right? Like
Mhm.
it's like here are the numbers, here's what it costs to run my life, or here's also I do this at my son has always had a wish list. We don't necessarily put the numbers of money on that, but like I didn't want to have the meltdowns in stores. So we always put Felix's stuff on a wish list. That kid gets everything on his wish list. He thinks it, he wants it, it arrives, and it's not always like from me. More than not, it's not from me, right? So you could have the wish list date, right? And I like to do this, and I've just actually recommended a client do this yesterday, is like mark out like the things that you want to decorate your house, right? Put it on a list and know what right now on the internet, what it costs. And so
Mhm.
you know what you're aiming for. Doesn't mean you're like, things can show up in different ways, right?
Right.
We're not saying like, oh gosh, it's like $20,000 to furnish my house the way I want it to. It's like, oh, okay, this is $20,000. Can I get behind that? And how else can this show up? Right. But getting behind those, so like the wish list date is like, I actually like, there's winter's coming up. Do your kiddos need new gear? Like just having a sense of that so that like it's time to put money towards that.
Mhm.
And then there's like, what's in our future date? Right.
Yes, I love this.
And you just like, that's where you dream, what's our future? Like, what are we dreaming about? What are we creating? And then we need to set up in place. So there's just all kinds of fun money dates that you can have with yourself. Uh, and money, of course, that really allow you to explore money in a way that's fun and playful and not like, this is the money thing I have to do. Yeah.
And I think you just hit it there. Make it fun and playful because we make money such a serious thing. I know I did for most of my life. I
Yeah.
mean, most of my adult life as well, because of the stories and the limiting beliefs that I carried about money. So I'm in a place now where it's like, okay, show me, show me how it's going to arrive because it won't always look like you imagine.
Yeah.
It arrives. And when that begins to happen, I think that's when you begin to trust the process of not being so tight, not being like feeling it in your body, because I know I did. It was like this, oh my gosh, this anxious feeling in your body. And it's just more of relaxing and just rewriting the narrative, which is what I
Exactly.
want to touch on as well. I know you talk about, we got to date money, we got to write letters to money, we got to basically rewrite that entire story that we've had about money. So, what does that actually look like? How can someone shift and rewrite their money stories and go into that abundance mindset?
Yeah. Okay. So that's really, if you break it down into three things, right? So the first thing to rewrite your money story is you've got to get clear on what those stories are.
Mm,
Like, what are the stories I'm telling myself, and going back and reflecting on your initial, like, and first money memories, right? What are the most like impactful money moments that you've had? Maybe it's like, I remember this one's like my mom always saying when she bought us clothes, don't tell your father, right? So it was shameful. Like the story there is like, you buy yourself clothes, you got to hide it, right? Which was very confusing for me. So you've got to like look at the stories. And sometimes like you may have heard through your life, money doesn't grow on trees, or, I mean, it's only been 50 years since a woman could get her own piece of property,
mm,
right? So sometimes the story is through the lineage of like, you can't do this alone as a woman,
yeah.
right?
Unconsciously, right?
Unconsciously, right? Not asking for more unconsciously, not applying for the job that's a bit of a stretch out of your experience level because like I don't know, you just think you can't, but it's like, no, your other experience can actually be more supportive of this role. Right. And then there's the, I'm trying to think of all, there's so many stories, but if you've heard like, I've heard the story of like a penny in is a penny out, or a dollar in is a dollar out. Like there's just this, those stories. So once you have those stories, then you've got to like look at underneath the hood and see where the beliefs came from, and start to shift your beliefs. But then it's like, okay, what is the new belief? What is the new, kind of get it clear of like, it's almost like, what's the opposing story? So
Mhm.
it's this almost like, I used to think, like I used to hear the phrase money doesn't grow on trees. Now I know that like money is an infinite resource that I provide for myself. Or it's like that one doesn't have as much as a connection, but like I used to think that I wasn't good enough. Because I'm a woman, I couldn't make as much money. Now I know as a woman, I have the power to just make as much money, if not more, than someone else. So you
Yeah.
start reframing these things so that, and saying them as if it's future tense, right? So like I used to, even though it may be the now, it's like I used to, now I, right? And then the third part, so the first part is like the clarity of the story. The second part is kind of rewriting the narrative. And then the third part is taking those narratives and writing it out. And the prompt is, this is how the story plays out.
Mm.
Right. And I did this about a year and a half ago. The rug was pulled out from underneath me in a very interesting way. And I got to begin again with a new home and all new furniture and all this stuff. And I wrote out, this is how the story plays out. And the second part of this part is I actually like stood up and read that story every day. And within 3 months, everything had come to fruition.
Oh, I love
It-
that.
yeah. And it was a really interesting time in my world where it was like, okay, like these are all beautiful. Like there was all kinds of beautiful things that were happening under me. And then like something happened and I was like, okay, well, this is how the story plays out. I can play the victim. I could just be woe is me. I could go in a dark hole, or I can be like, no, that like I get to write the story here. And that part is really powerful, especially if the key thing here too is revisiting it. It's one thing to sit down and go, oh yeah, my story is this. I can hear myself saying, that if you catch yourself saying like, that's expensive all the time, there's a story there, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then another thing to be like, oh, the reframe for that I would offer is like, that's not where I want my money to go right now, right? Like you can have the money, whether the cost of it or not, it's like, is that of value to me? Does that bring value to me, right? And then the third part of revisiting, being able to write, this is how the story plays out, and read it so that you're in that energy on the daily, right? It's not I'm just going to plop it there and hope for the best. No, you're meeting yourself in that newness and the story regularly.
I love it. Thank you so much. I mean, people
Yeah.
are going to have to listen to this on replay because I am enjoying this conversation. But I do want to ask you, so for women who really want to feel that true financial security right now,
Yeah.
what are those first steps that they can take to create more freedom in their life in
Yeah.
a way that truly supports them?
So like I do the practical and the magical, right? So the practical, if they like take a good look at your numbers and see where that is, right? And have the numbers date with yourself and have the what is our future date. So start dreaming about what you want to be. Now, if someone's in survival mode, it's harder to get to the dreaming. So I would recommend get clear on your numbers and where you need to go to, like, what would make you feel secure, right? Now, today. And then on the magical energetic part, what it is like you've got to start seeing your abundance now, because abundance is an inside out thing. It's not an outside in thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's so wherever you are really good at something in one area, you're good at it in others. Sometimes we just have to use a different part of our life to remember that for other aspects. So you might be really abundant in ideas. You might be really abundant in friendships. You might be abundant in, like, I live in, like, I have an abundance of places that I can hike and be in the woods and be up on a mountain, right? It's like recognizing like there's an abundance of box beetles on my window right now, right? Like, and I look around, you can see behind me, I have abundance of plants, right? It's starting to really look at what is of abundance in your world already to really feel into that sensation of abundance.
I
Um,
love it.
yeah. So that's twofold. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, I know this conversation has been, at least for me, just a beautiful reminder that abundance isn't something that you chase, right? It's something that we really just allow in us as we heal these stories that we've been carrying, as we change the narrative, as we rewrite these stories that many times have kept us in survival mode. So thank you so much for sharing this, Maggie, and thank you for being here, for not just sharing your wisdom, but opening your heart with your stories and your journey, because I know there are going to be people that see themselves reflected in all the different stories that you shared. And I'm excited because we get to have you again, and not just in this format, but actually learning from you. Your event, your master class is November 10th. Oh,
Correct.
November 10th.
Yeah, November 10th.
And I want to make sure that everyone has that opportunity to join you, to really tap into what you're going to be sharing with us that day,
Yeah.
because this entire conversation was expansive to me. You know, it just
Yeah.
brings the conversation of money and in finance and all that in it from a whole different perspective, which I think is what people need. It needs to feel lighter because so many times it just feels so heavy. Even going to, let's say, a traditional financial advisor. I have them, right? I work with them, but they get so heavy on the numbers and this and that, which is necessary, right? I'm not going to dismiss that. But sometimes it makes it not as enjoyable for
Mhm.
many. And so I love the different perspectives that you shared and that you took. And I really want everybody to remember that, alignment and abundance really go hand in hand. So the
Mhm.
more you trust your inner guidance, the more the universe will meet you with that overflow, just like you mentioned. So thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. And for everyone else, tune in. And actually, Maggie, tell us where people can connect with you before
Yeah.
we hit off. How can they connect with you if they want to just, tap in and work with you?
Absolutely. So there's a couple, like you can go, like one, find me on Instagram. So it's at Boku_babe, but this will probably be connected to that. The other thing I have is like you can reach out to me directly. Like we're in the group, just send me a message and we'll start a conversation. And then I have, it's on your, sorry, I'm losing the word, but like my information where you
The
can
directory?
directory. Thank you. The directory, where you can, it's called, uh, I will get the link to it. I just had it. I have it actually pulled up. Let me just think, but it's a 5-day journal prompt where you can just start to, it's so boku-babe.com/wealthy self. So that, or wealthy dash self, so that you can just start to journal these parts and pieces of like, what are the aspects of you doing that? And from there, just reach out to me. And I would love to support you with your money journey because it's fun. Like, and just like you said, Criss, like we meet the financial advisors that not all of them are like that. I have a financial advisor that like gets the woo side too, which is amazing. But it can be fun. And these like, when you're willing to like step into this expansive container that allows you to like actually be seen in like, whether it's you were never taught about money, whether it's the beliefs, whether it's just like, I don't even know how I can do this, but help me out here, Maggie. Um, it's really, really powerful and it can be a lot of fun. Because it's like, there's just like a lot of ahas when we shift it to make it not the like rigidity that
Yeah.
outside world tells us it should be.
Right? Yes. So thank you, Maggie, for reminding me of the directory, because the directory is going to have not just Maggie, but the other guest experts, all your contact, how they can reach you, any resources that you have available for them. It's a beautiful place and kind of a one-stop shop there. You just go, you find all the information, but we'll still put it in the notes. And I thank you once again for sharing your knowledge and everything else full of abundance. And I can't wait to tune in to your signature event that is coming up. And if anyone's catching this on the replay, you can catch this episode as well as the masterclass on the replay. Just go to the guide section and that's where you can find it. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time.